the late 80s, it was just all the mix of girl glam and some of the bands that were kind of similar to Guns N' Roses, the Junkyards and Asphalt Ballets and Tricks and Circus. Just a crazy time. Everyone wanted to be the next Motley Crue or the next Guns N' Roses.
I loved what was going on. I mean, I was right there. Hair metal, thousands of people on the Sunset Strip, you know, never going home. I ate it up, but it was certainly really exciting while it was going on. You know, 17 and no rules, and like, it was just a massive, crazy party.
The late 80s and the early 90s in Los Angeles were the most loud, decadent, culture-shocking period, essentially, in rock and roll over the last 2 decades. You had Guns N' Roses, who'd come out of the Motley Crue, who'd come out of the area in Sunset Boulevard. You could point to this area as being the vortex of a scene of music that was being accepted far beyond the bounds of Los Angeles. Tool's early records were born out of that same musical sort of fabric, aggressive, groundbreaking sort of music, but they weren't attached to a geography.
The first inklings of the individuality and non-conformity that would come to define Tool arose through the work of another band. Born in Buffalo, Bill Manspeaker was another recent arrival to Los Angeles. His band, Green Jello, a comedy metal collective named after the food people would throw at them during gigs, had become a fixture of the Hollywood underground music scene. Expanding the number of members, they would, for a short while, recruit both future Tool pioneers Danny Carey and Maynard James Keenan. It would be a fitting early start for artists so resolutely out of the ordinary.
And Adam and Maynard were friends, and I had this big gigantic loft that we all lived in Hollywood, and Maynard just needed a place to live. He just moved into town, and I was like, yeah, sure, you know, come on over here. And he immediately joined Green Jello, and, you know, he was one of the singers, and Danny Carey was the drummer in the band, and we used to have our own parties at our studio. And, you know, one day Maynard was just tired of working at the pet store, and he said, you know what, let me make up a band for the party, and maybe I'll get signed to this $300,000 record deal.
Green Jello, later rebranded Green Jelly, would persevere with their less than serious artistic stance and would go on to see substantial success. Maynard and Danny had moved on by this point, however, and in 1990 the first incarnation of Tool had officially come together, a state of affairs which bore witness to perfect timing. A change in cultural consensus would soon mean that not fitting into the glam metal scene would be a very smart move. In the early 90s, the record-buying audience grew tired of hairspray and histrionics and were looking for something with more substance.
Well, what do you think about interviews?
It's a pretty good magazine. Really Did you hear my reaction when he asked me if I wanted to do one?
Yeah.
I said, fuck no.
Yeah.
I said, heck no.
An alternative rock resurgence began, spearheaded by grunge band Nirvana, whose massive success purveyed an unmistakable call to arms. It was okay to be angry, it was okay to be intelligent, and it was okay to be different. To a young group like Tool, this new American musical landscape was an open door to opportunity.
That whole thing came up. I mean, you could feel that surge of something different, and I mean, it all escalated in around end of 91 with Nirvana. I mean, that set the tone for the acceptance of those bands. Around the end of 91, it was, you know, you were seeing bands like Fishbone and Primus, but definitely once Nirvana hit, that kind of music became more accepting, and it kind of was, it shut the door. I know it's cliche to say this, it's been said so many times, but it did shut the door on those Warrants and the Skid Rows and the Poisons that were definitely prevalent in 1990. And after 91, after October 91, that stuff was, you know.
I could definitely see the importance You know, if you're emerging and you're doing something new and, you know, you're looking for reasons to believe in it, you know, more than what's going on already, you know, it was quite different. And I don't think a lot of outside forces necessarily believed in it. So I think it was probably an advantage to the people who, you know, had sort of just moved on so rapidly. I mean, like Pearl Jam, Nirvana, like all that sort of Seattle, the grunge, I mean, couldn't be any more different than what was going on.
In the early days, Tool were compared to Nirvana because Nirvana was, of course, the big thing that was going on, the breakthrough music of the time. And Tool had some elements of loud, aggressive music and you know, the teenage angst and artistic delivery. There were certain parallels, and it was an interesting place for the band to be in. At the same time, they never really felt like they were part of that, and they never really felt like part of anything, which was really, I think, to their benefit, because they've always been able to kind of transcend what's going on around them and just kind of create their own thing while still tapping into elements of what works and what's popular and what they like.
Tool wasted no time in making a name for themselves. Gigging heavily and putting together a demo tape, it only took a couple of months for them to attract a significant following.
They recorded their first demo on a 4-track, you know, on a little cassette, handwritten. You know, they recorded 4 songs. And, you know, he played them for me. I was like, wow, my God, these are great songs. You know, they were great from the second that they had started, you know. You didn't have to lie about it, you know, when you tell your friends, oh, it was a great song, you know. They were really good songs, and, you know, and I played the hell out of that cassette. I'd bring it to work, and I'd play it, and everybody at work loved it. And you just had a party, and Tool played at the party at the house, you know. We had a keg, and everybody was drinking. And some of my friends from the record company came over that I knew.
They actually got the deal from the record label after playing 7 or 8 gigs because their shows were so outlandish and so different than everything else that was going on. So even if the A&R people didn't understand what they were trying to do, they knew that they were onto something different.
With the attention of record company executives snared, Tool signed to Zoo Entertainment, and it was in March 1992 that they unveiled their debut release, an EP entitled Opiate. This short 6-song introduction to the world of the band would lay down the framework for what was to be a remarkable creative journey.
I was the editor of Rip Magazine, and I got invited up to Zoo Entertainment, and I was in an office. Lou Malia, he was the president of the company, and everybody at that time wanted me to hear their stuff early. And he closed his doors and he put on that Opiate. Like, this is what we got, Lon. You know, you write about metal, your magazine's the best. And he played me that. I mean, that's early. That's before all the texture and evolution came to Tool, but you could hear.
People tell me what to say.